Interesting how they all marched in perfect lockstep while chanting the same slogans.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity.
Here we are now with an economy in crisis, but with an incredible opportunity.
It's certainly a major crisis, but it also offers us a unique opportunity.
Unprecedented opportunity to rethink and reset.
The great opportunity for reset.
Opportunity for us to reset.
For a reset.
It's almost as if they all attended the same school of thought and studied under the same professor.
Some people would say this revolution is characterized by the fight of robots against human beings. And we will win this fight.
Professor Klaus Schwab was born in 1938 in Ravensburg, Germany, where Nazi crimes against humanity were committed. His father, Eugene Wilhelm Schwab, was the managing director of Escher Weiss Ravensburg, a company that used slave labor to manufacture weapons of war for the Third Reich. While Klaus, his father, was at the helm, the Nazi Party awarded Escher Weiss Ravensburg the title of National Socialist Model Company. Years later, Klaus Schwab joined the board of directors at Escher Weiss Ravensburg, where he played a key role in the development of South Africa's nuclear weapons program during the darkest years of the racist apartheid regime. Today, Klaus Schwab is the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum.
If you'd like to meet the people who are supposed to repair the state of the world, or give a piece of your mind to the bankers who helped get us into this mess, we can tell you where to find a lot of them. The World Economic Forum.
Founded in 1971, the World Economic Forum is an international private organization which receives billions of tax-free dollars from its members and their global enterprises. Every year, the WEF brings together its members with world leaders, big pharma executives, tech titans, Hollywood celebrities, media personalities, and internet influencers to meet in the secluded mountains of Davos, Switzerland.
It is a tiny town folded into the Swiss Alps, a village where you could bump into Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, the head of Google, and the Queen of Jordan, all in one place. A lot of reporters cover the forum, but few get inside. It turns out there are two Davoses, one you see and one you don't. After hours, there are hundreds of private parties where deals are done. People who can't be seen together in public can meet here.
Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished heads of state and government, the future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
Klaus Schwab, the founder of the WEF, is particularly upfront and even proud of his ability to shape and influence world politics.
I created the community of global shapers as a means, as a force to shape our common future.
And of course, their Global Young Leaders program is a grooming ground so that when they ultimately infiltrate cabinets,
We penetrate the cabinets.
they will likely tend to govern a certain way.
Nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated.
The names and the countries he mentioned ended up being some of the most dystopian and authoritative during this pandemic.
Names like Miss Merkel, Vladimir Putin, and so on.
Other names? Jacinda Ardern, Sebastian Kurz, Mauricio Macri, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Ma, Gavin Newsom, Stéphane Bancel, Chelsea Clinton, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Leanna Wen, Alexander and Jonathan Soros, George Soros' sons, and several of the Rothschilds. And of course,
Now, who could represent such a world better than you, Prime Minister?
In 2014, Klaus Schwab called for the Great Reset,
We need a great reset.
which he positioned as the solution to the world's most urgent issues. The dark reality of Schwab's agenda is detailed in his best-selling book, COVID-19, The Great Reset. His endgame mission is to replace independent governance with a top-down controlled, one world government and a central bank-controlled digital currency.
I just would like to highlight
version of the glasses, one of the things that I'm pretty excited about, I think we'll start getting some consumer neural interfaces soon. I think that's going to be pretty wild. Imagine the joy of connecting with your loved ones, browsing the web, or even playing games using only your thoughts.
The microchips are already here. The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards.
Wants the digital currency so bad, he can taste it. What exactly is a centralized digital currency? Well, it's a digital form of central bank money that is widely available to the general public. That's the actual definition.
World leaders, corporate giants, top academics, they're all coming together in Davos, Switzerland today. It's the start of the 54th World Economic Forum, and security is very tight at the Swiss ski resort as those international elites begin to arrive.
What are we able to keep the positive side from the old order to bring into a new world order, and how can we avoid that new world order becomes like a jungle growing back, and we rather have order based on international law and the principles that have brought us prosperity and freedom for decades.
It's time to plan the future. Not their futures, your future.
That order seems to not be the order anymore. We are on the way to a new order, so we are between orders.
A new world order. So what will that look like?
Maybe this is the old kind of teacher in me coming out. I think of this a little bit more about a transition of eras rather than a transition of orders, but the two are kind of cousins of one another. The reason I draw the distinction is because I don't think the international order built after 1945 is getting replaced wholesale with some new order. It will obviously evolve as it has evolved multiple times over the decades since 1945. But I do think in a more sharp and distinctive way, we are moving into a new era, and that's what I talked about in my remarks, that we are, the post-Cold War era has come to a close. We're at the start of something new. We have the capacity to shape what that looks like, and at the heart of it will be many of the core principles and core institutions of the existing order, adapted for the challenges that we face today.
History is truly at a turning point. We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen. However, we do know that global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected. In times of crisis, the role of governments is more important and more relevant than ever.
La France a toujours été à la pointe des recherches concernant l'énergie atomique.
Ce cœur artificiel 100% français est un miracle.
La conserve est née. C'est fait, le train à grande vitesse a été officiellement inauguré aujourd'hui, ce train le plus rapide.
La première projection cinématographique.
Cette invention est rêveuse.
Encore va dire quelle puissance, le voilà, ça y est, formidable.
Au classement de l'alimentation durable, la France est championne du monde.
Nouvel avion de combat français, le Rafale.
Premier français commandant de bord de l'ISS.
L'un des meilleurs appareils de chasse du monde.
Notre ambition à tous est d'avoir un jour des hommes sur Mars.
Grâce à la 320, pour la première fois, Airbus dépasse Boeing. Et ça, c'est une véritable révolution.
Sommes-nous seuls dans l'univers ?
de réforme et d'innovation. Le président de la République française, M. Emmanuel Macron. Depuis votre élection, Monsieur le Président, vous vous êtes fermement établi comme un réformateur audacieux, s'attaquant avec vigueur aux défis complexes de notre époque. En France, le président a initié des réformes majeures visant à revitaliser l'économie, à moderniser le marché du travail et à transformer le système de retraite, prouvant ainsi son engagement indéfectible envers le progrès et la prospérité de son pays. Mais l'influence du président Macron dépasse largement les frontières de la France. Son cœur bat pour l'Europe. Il est un fervent défenseur de l'Union européenne, ouvrant sans relâche pour une Europe plus forte, plus unie et plus résiliente. Sous votre direction, la France s'est affirmée comme un pilier central de l'Union, promouvant l'intégration européenne et luttant pour les valeurs communes de démocratie, de liberté et de solidarité. Sur la scène mondiale, le président Macron est une voix de raison et de stabilité. Dans le monde marqué par des tensions croissantes et un climat politique polarisé, il plaide avec passion pour le multilatéralisme et la coopération internationale. Que ce soit dans la lutte contre le changement de climat, dans la promotion de la paix et de la sécurité, ou dans la défense des droits humains, le monde a besoin de votre leadership. Veuillez accueillir le président de la République française, M. Emmanuel Macron.
Political rookie Emmanuel Macron is leading the polls and tipped to be France's next president.
Et nous allons gagner! Vive la République! Vive la France!
The 39-year-old's meteoric rise has shaken the political establishment while also being its last hope. His centrist, pro-European, open-border views stand in stark contrast to the rising voices of Europe's resurgent far-right. This is how Macron's unabashed ambition drove him from star pupil to banker to political rebel and now the hot favorite to lead France. Macron was raised in the town of Amiens, 2 hours north of Paris. This is the house he grew up in. The eldest of 3 children from a family of doctors, he attended a Jesuit school. A precocious kid, he preferred the company of teachers to other pupils. After school, he attended university in Paris, studying philosophy, then went to the prestigious National School of Administration, a breeding ground for the French elite. He worked for 4 years as an inspector at the Ministry of Economy before moving to the renowned investment bank Rothschild.
Why is the world divided like this? It is not by accident. All of this is by very meticulously planned action. It is all done by design through the control systems that run our world. All you got to do at all times is follow the money. You'll get to the top and discover the Rothschild banking empire.
With trillions at his disposal, far beyond global GDP, and with the greatest respect, beyond even the governments of the world's leaders.
And their cronies, the banking families, and what is often referred to as the royal political elite. These families that control the world did not suddenly come into power in the last 100 years. We're talking about thousands of years of royal bloodline control of the world.
Macron was quickly parachuted into managing a massive acquisition.
Nestle has agreed to buy Pfizer's infant nutrition business for almost $12 billion.
When the deal went through, he got a big payout. Then in 2012, Macron was offered a position working for the new president and a personal friend, Francois Hollande. 2 years later, Hollande gave him the prestigious position of Minister of Economy. He was 36. But by now, Hollande's public approval rating had fallen to historic lows. Macron threw himself into a plan to loosen economic regulation, test the exchanges in parliament. But the reforms were disliked and the legislation had to be forced through parliament, sparking violent protest. Macron increasingly criticized the government, but still enjoyed the president's support. Then, last year, he launched his own political movement, En Marche, or On the Move, thrusting him into the national spotlight.
He's really come out of nowhere. 3 years ago, Emmanuel Macron was barely known to the general public, and here he is today on the verge of becoming president.
That's Mark Dean.
I'm a deputy bureau chief at Bloomberg News in Paris, and I'm on the campaign trail with Emmanuel Macron.
The youthful contender was seen as a presidential long shot.
When he started his movement, everyone, including many journalists, including myself, said, oh, well, that's pretty cute, and it's a nice effort, but, he's not going to be president.
But borrowing from U.S. President Barack Obama's election playbook, he took to social media and ran a large grassroots campaign.
Une chance pour chacun.
By the time France went to the polls for the first round of voting in April, he had successfully reinvented himself.
Hello to everyone.
He was no longer the failed reformer working under a failed president, but a new voice in politics.
Pourquoi je suis terriblement optimiste aujourd'hui? Parce que je sais, en vous voyant, en observant notre mouvement, que nous réussirons, oui, que nous réussirons à rassembler les Français et à réconcilier les Frances.
He secured the most votes of any candidate in the first round, putting him into a runoff with another political outsider, the far-right Marine Le Pen. Still, it's not all smooth sailing into the Élysée Palace. Macron has many critics on both sides of the political spectrum.
I believe in the post-COVID world, without reaping the benefits and learning the lessons from what we have experienced. Our societies are vulnerable because nature is reminding us of this. We are vulnerable to a pandemic, climatic events, and so on. And so the economy of tomorrow, strengthened by these lessons. We talk a lot about new strains and variants, but there are some things that are not varying. The economy of tomorrow is going to have to be an economy that thinks about innovation and humanity, and it's going to have to build competitiveness together with the climate challenge, reducing CO2 emissions, adapting our societies, the biodiversity agenda. So it's an economy that will have to be more resilient, that will be better organized, and will have to be including these elements of resistance in the supply chains, and we can come back to this later. And also it will have to be an economy that takes into account this principle of humanity, whether it's on a social or health point of view. We talked about this last year, and I believe that we will not get out of this pandemic or rather, we will get out of this pandemic only with an economy that thinks more about fighting inequalities.
We're in a jungle and we have two big elephants trying to become more and more nervous. If they become very nervous and start war, it will be a big problem for the rest of the jungle. You need cooperation of a lot of other animals. Tigers, monkeys, and so on. A lot of people would like to see there are two orders in this world. This is a huge mistake. We need a single global order.
We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism.
I think that we're seeing a crisis of the very foundations of today's world. We're losing our benchmarks and our modes of functioning. This is not a historical parenthesis. It's a reflection of our failures in the past.
World order is being shaken like never before. It's being shaken because of errors made by the West in certain crises, but also by choices made by the United States in the past few years, and not just by the current administration. Those choices are having an impact on conflicts in the Middle East and elsewhere, making it necessary to rethink military and diplomatic strategies.
To Germany's parliament, the French president Emmanuel Macron has once again called for their support to create a European army. Macron said the proposal for a joint intervention force would reduce the EU's dependence on the United States.
Europe, and within it, the Franco-French alliance, are invested on this obligation not to let the world slip into chaos, but to accompany it on the way to peace.
Je pense qu'il faut déléguer notre géopolitique aux États-Unis d'Amérique, il faut déléguer notre modèle de croissance à nos clients chinois, il faut déléguer notre innovation technologique aux hyperscalers américains. C'est pas la meilleure idée. Je pense qu'on peut le reprendre le contrôle. Au fond, pour moi, c'est simple. Le monde est fait d'herbivores et de carnivores. Si on décide de rester des herbivores, les carnivores gagneront. Et nous serons un marché pour eux. Je pense qu'au moins, ce serait pas mal de choisir d'être des omnivores. Je veux pas être agressif, je veux juste qu'on sache se défendre sur chacun de ces sujets. Mais je n'ai pas envie de laisser l'Europe comme un formidable théâtre habité par des herbivores que des carnivores, selon leur agenda, viendront dévorer.
To that weekend of violence, amid talks of a ceasefire deal.
Moi, je trouve que notre rôle ici, ou au sein de l'Union européenne, c'est pas de commenter l'élection de Donald Trump, savoir si c'est bon ou pas bon. Il a été élu par le peuple américain. Et il va défendre l'intérêt des Américains. Et c'est légitime et c'est une bonne chose. La question, c'est est-ce que nous, on est prêt à défendre l'intérêt des Européens? C'est la seule question qui nous est posée. Et moi, je pense que c'est notre priorité. Et donc, ça ne doit être ni dans un transatlantisme qui serait naïf, ni dans la remise en cause de nos alliances, ni non plus dans un nationalisme étriqué qui ne nous permettrait pas de relever ce défi face à la Chine et aux États-Unis d'Amérique. Et donc, c'est un moment de l'histoire pour nous, Européens, qui est décisif. Au fond, la question qui nous est posée, voulons-nous lire l'histoire écrite par d'autres, les guerres lancées par Vladimir Poutine, les élections américaines, les choix faits par les Chinois en termes technologiques ou commerciaux, ou est-ce qu'on veut écrire l'histoire? Et moi, je pense qu'on a une force pour l'écrire. Nos économies sont fortes, nos pays ont des systèmes de défense sophistiqués, et on représente quelque chose. L'Union européenne, c'est 440 millions d'habitants avec ses 27 pays, et la communauté politique européenne, c'est plus de 700 millions d'habitants. Si on décide d'avoir conscience de ce qu'on représente géopolitiquement, commercialement, c'est une puissance inouïe. Il n'y a aucun marché de 700 millions d'habitants aussi uni par l'histoire, des intérêts, des valeurs que nous autour de cette table. Aucun. Si on se réveille et qu'on décide au fond de ne pas disparaître géopolitiquement et de ne pas être le marché d'ajustement des autres puissances économiquement et commercialement. Et donc pour moi, ce moment, c'est celui où on décide d'agir, de défendre nos intérêts nationaux et européens en même temps, de croire dans notre souveraineté, notre autonomie stratégique, et de dire au fond, on n'a pas envie simplement d'être des clients, d'être un marché qui est pris, de déléguer en fait à d'autres notre économie, nos choix technologiques ou notre sécurité, mais on veut pleinement se saisir de la question de la paix sur notre sol, de notre prospérité et de notre modèle démocratique. Pour moi, c'est ça les trois défis de la communauté politique européenne qu'on a à discuter ensemble.
Trying to defend a vision based on values, on a political project which goes beyond the borders of our country, which is supported by the EU and by the United Nations. When we fight for the Paris Accord, we're fighting for an agreement that all the sovereign states have signed.
A comprehensive plan that was signed on to by 178 nations plus the Holy See in 1992. It's the United Nations plan, and it's a plan to inventory and control all land, water, plants, minerals, construction, means of production, food, energy, everything on the planet, law enforcement, education, and of course, information and human beings. So this is, a comprehensive plan of action, an inventory and control plan. It's about data sharing. It's about money transferring from the developed nations to the lesser developed nations. And ultimately, it's about destroying your ability to have a voice, destroying your ability to have representative government. It's about changing your government to governance. And the goal, of course, is to transfer power from global governance systems.
Before we're a cashless society, this is where I get scared because it's too similar to the mark of the beast. It's too similar to exactly what it says. You won't be able to trade, you won't be able to do anything unless you have the mark.
Many American businesses have already gone cashless as well. They'll pretend it's all about convenience, but really, it's all about control. The emergence of a system for comprehensive control that's so complete that we can barely imagine it. Countries like India, Estonia, Korea, there's a long list, have taken national steps to provide citizens who wish with a secure form of digital identification that can be presented online. A secure digital ID biometrically synced to your smartphone. We're headed toward a one world global government with one massive monstrous leader.
How is the mark of the beast described in the Bible?
People would like to see there are two orders in this world. This is a huge mistake. We need a single global order.
So, how do we do it?
While announcing his roadmap dubbed France 2030, Macron says his country will massively decarbonize its industries.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations who protect their citizens, respect their neighbors, and honor the differences that make each country special and unique.
Both in the United States and in Europe, we are living in a time of anger and fear because of these current global threats. But these feelings do not build anything.
Reaction was quite positive in the House chamber with about 30 or so standing ovations overall in terms of the speech. Arizona Senator Jeff Flake told us he liked the speech.
Particularly the emphasis on multilateralism and responsibility of the United States to step up. And in particular with the rules that we've written regarding the WTO or international institutions and organizations that we ought to make sure that this liberal world order that we've helped create survives.
And look at things like artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
And robots. Look at things like gene editing.
Exactly.
Opening a whole new horizon for medical science.
And you see, the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. When you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you were changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem. Of course, the new industrial revolution offers us many opportunities, but it raises manifold questions on the ethical, but even legal implications, and we have to be prepared for it.
So I want to talk to you today about the future of our species, and really the future of life. We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens. Within a century or two, Earth will be dominated by entities that are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees. Because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself. Because today, data is the most important asset in the world. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. There is a lot of talk these days about hacking computers and email accounts and bank accounts and mobile phones, but actually we are gaining the ability to hack human beings. Biological knowledge multiplied by computing power, multiplied by data, equals the ability to hack humans.
The human race is at a critical point.
Al final, de lo que se trata es de organizar una gran entidad o varias entidades supranacionales que sean las que dicten el nuevo orden de cosas, el nuevo orden mundial.
Have no doubt, you are living the most important moments of your life. Because you're going to be the protagonists of the most important moments in the history of humanity.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! And these shield boys!
The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.